This video will cover how to get started with the PowerShell SDK for Intersight. Step one in using any of the SDKs for Intersight is to generate an API key. An API key is how you're going to authenticate with that SDK to Intersight. So let's do that. We're going here under the system service and we're going to generate an API key. The version 3 key is faster and is supported by the PowerShell SDK, so that's what we're going to use. And we'll just give this a quick description and generate. So I'm going to copy the API key ID and we'll use that in a few moments. And the secret key we're going to save off to a file. Now this is going to drop into my downloads folder. That is not a good place to save that long term. For the purposes of this video, that will suffice, but make sure you store this a little more carefully along with your API key ID. All right, I'm not sure now what to do next, and so I'm going to go to the Help Center and look for some API help. And there is a section for API documentation. And because it's an SDK, I need to go to the downloads and figure out how to get the SDK onto my machine. So I'm focused here on the PowerShell module, and it tells me that the source for the PowerShell module is in the PS gallery. So let's click on PS gallery and see what it says. It says, oh, that I can just install the module with this one command. So let's copy that to the clipboard. So that'll install the module, but I'm still not exactly sure what to do with my API credentials. How am I going to configure this module to use those credentials that we have created in the previous steps? So let's go back to the documentation and look at the examples. There's got to be something in the examples that shows me what to do. So there are quite a few examples in here, and all of the examples actually use this API config.ps1 script to configure the authentication. So let's look at this real quick. It's fairly simple, actually. What it's doing is setting the Intersight configuration based on two environment variables. Those environment variables are the API key ID and the path to the private key, which, if you recall, is in my downloads folder right now. So what we need to do is set those two environment variables and just run this script right here, this API config. So let's go do that. The first thing we do is install the module with the command that we copied earlier. And here I do trust the PS gallery as a trusted repository, so I'm going to hit A for all and go ahead and let this PowerShell module get installed. And now I'm going to set those two environment variables. I've copied my key from the previous step. That is the key ID. And of course, the path to the secret key file right there. So now I've set up those two environment variables that are required. And we're going to go ahead and run this. I should say that I did clone that repository that we were looking at with all of the examples. I cloned that here to my local machine and we're in that directory. So that's how I have the API config script ready to go. And that's it. So this should be ready now to go. So when learning an SDK, I think the first thing to do is actually to try to get an organization out of your Intersight account. So I don't really know what the command is to get an organization or to get a list of the organizations. So I'm going to try a PowerShell construct. So this is not related to Intersight. This is built into PowerShell. something that says get command, and I can pass it a wildcard pattern. So I think the command probably has the word Intersight in it, probably has the word organization in it, and let's see what kind of command list we get back. All right, so this one looks promising, and so I'm going to run that. It's get Intersight organization. Love tab complete. That's built into PowerShell. It's something I like to use to save myself from mistyping something. Okay, a lot of stuff scrolled by too quickly for me to see. I don't know how many organizations were returned. I don't need to know all of these properties that it returned. All I really want to know is the names of these organizations. So let's run the exact same command again. And now we're going to do some more PowerShell specific magic, some language specific magic, which is to actually pipe the output of this command into a filter, which is in PowerShell, it's select object, but you can also just use the word select as an abbreviation. So all I want from that is the name of the organization. And actually, I see something here that might be interesting as well, and that's create time. So let's pull that from all of our organizations. So I see that there are 5 organizations, and I can see their creation time. So this is perfect. I've got the right command. And so now what I want to do is save this one of these organizations. We're going to work in the organization called the ranch. So I want to save this now as a local variable because I think I'm going to need it later. So we're going to do get Intersight organization. Again, tab completion to keep me from making mistakes. And we're going to save the one that's called the ranch. All right, just to make sure that I've actually saved the right one, we can do myOrg.create time. Again, this is a PowerShell construct to pull properties from a variable, and that matches what we see above. The next thing to do is to create an NTP policy. And once again, I don't know what the name of the commandlet is to get NTP policies or to create new ones. So we will once again use get command, and we're going to use kind of the same wildcard format. I'm sure it's got the word Intersight in it because all of the commands for this PowerShell module for Intersight have the word Intersight in them. It is an NTP policy, so it better have the word NTP and policy in it. So let's see what kind of commands we get. All right, this is pretty clear. There's only one get Intersight NTP policy, so pretty sure that's the right one to run. And I already know I've got multiple NTP policies in this account. I don't need to see that it'll scroll by way too fast for me to see anything. So we're going to do the same thing. Let's do select name, and let's go ahead and show the creation time as well. Okay, perfect. So I've been able to retrieve NTP policies, which means I'm using the right command. And so now I can use new Intersight NTP policy to create a new policy. So let's do that. Now I have no idea what to do next. What properties do I need to give this to make this create a new NTP policy? So I'm going to use, again, tab completion. and just hit tab twice, a dash and then tab twice to be able to see all of the parameters that this command takes. And so I can look at these and tell, well, obviously, I do need to give this a name. So we're going to call this demo video. I definitely need to give this, I need to enable it. So enabled, we'll say true. I could give this a description. I'm not going to, but I definitely need to give it an organization because I need to tell Intersight which organization this NTP policy belongs in. And of course, we saved that organization earlier. So all I have to do is give this commandlet that local variable. Okay, the actual NTP servers, that's probably an important property to give it, and it's NTP servers, plural, so that means I must be giving it a list. So this is how lists are formatted in PowerShell. So I'm going to give it 2. And the last thing I'm going to do is time zone. Now, time zone is tricky because I don't know what format it's expecting. Is it expecting America / name of the time zone? I'm not sure. And so, again, I'm going to use some PowerShell tab completion capabilities, and I'm going to start typing America. I don't know if it's America or Americas. And so let's hit tab and tab, and I see now all of the options that are available to me, and I see my time zone listed in there. So I'm going to use tab completion to finish that. All right, let's make sure that it created our NTP policy. So we're going to hit clear and go through our command history and get all of the policies again and select the name and creation time. And here you can see that demo video NTP policy did get created here in October of 2023. And we can actually look at that specific policy and pull a couple of the properties just to make sure that it got set correctly. So let's do get Intersight NTP policy-name. We're going to pull one specific one. And now I just want to select name, NTP servers, and what else did we want? Time zone. All right, that matches the settings that I gave it. And now let's do one final thing, which is because this NTP policy was just me playing around and learning the SDK, let's go ahead and get rid of it. And so I want to figure out what the command is to delete an NTP policy. And I don't remember what it was, so let's one more time use git command, Intersight NTP policy. All right, there is one called remove Intersight NTP policy. That looks promising. So I'm going to use, once again, a PowerShell construct, get Intersight NTP policy. We're going to retrieve the demo video NTP policy, and we are going to pipe it, in other words, send the output of that command to the input of remove Intersight NTP policy. So that should delete the policy that we just created. And let's go and run our command to display the full list of current NTP policies. And you can see that demo video is gone. All right, I hope you enjoyed that quick introduction to getting started with the PowerShell SDK. Thank you so much for tuning in.